Hey everybody, Jim Jock with Remax North Country. So here I am today, again live, about 10 minutes after my last one. I'm not sure that my microphone cable was connected because the sound level did seem a little low. That's one of those things that happens with live video. A lot of times I record them and then post them and go from there. But anyway, live is quick and easy, but sometimes you have things like microphone plugs and things like that to work. The software I'm using right now is actually pretty basic, and I might try something different later on so that I can at least check it out. But anyway, so this video is about the regrets of a for sale by owner. So a for sale by owner in the industry has typically been called a FSBO, for FSBO, for sale by owner. And a lot of people who decide to sell their houses by themselves, you know, there are different statistics and surveys that have shown why, and about 35% of for sale by owners sell because they don't want to pay the commission of a real estate agent. Okay, I understand that, but let's factor in something when you consider that. Now, this is based on the National Association of Realtors. Every year they do a profile of home buyers and sellers. So their 2019 survey that they did found that for sale by owner sellers typically sell their home for less than the selling price of other homes. For sale by owner homes are usually sold, again, nationwide, the average of $200,000 last year, the same as the year before. And that's significantly lower than the median price of agent-assisted homes. The agent-assisted homes sold for $280,000. So if the reason that they didn't want to use a real estate professional to sell their home was because they didn't want to pay the commission, even when you take off the commission off the numbers that I just gave you from the 2019 study, there is still money that's being left on the table by for sale by owners. So what that means is the pricing tools that, at least that I have access to, are pretty far and wide. Transaction history, local and regional and national statistics, as well as, you know, training through like my certification as a pricing strategy advisor. There's a lot of information that goes into pricing a home. And I always tell sellers that I think pricing your home is one of the most important and critical steps that I can do for you, because it's got to be just right. If you want to talk about why homes might not sell, you can go back and listen to a previous live video, either on my Facebook page or my YouTube channel. So, you know, some regrets and questions, and these aren't you know, scientific. These are things that I see as a result of working in the industry when it comes to working with homes that are sold by owner. And that's a nice loud truck going by. I'm standing out in my backyard. Sometimes you'll see for sale by owner homes listed on websites like Zillow or Trulia, or I think those are the main ones that I typically see. So let me ask you, is one website enough to sell your home? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But not everybody uses Zillow. So that's important. The other thing is, you know, are 10 pictures enough? Not usually. I saw a for sale by owner on one time on, I don't know, I don't remember what website, it was a while ago, but the picture of the master bedroom had people sleeping in the bed. Sorry, that just creeps me out. You know, it's just some things you don't do. So when it comes to for sale by owners, you know, do you have enough pictures? Do you have video even? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes the video is all, you know, chopping and jumping around or whatever. But the other thing you have to ask yourself, are you being flexible with the showings? Again, you're doing this on your own, so you're kind of having to figure it out. My experience when I go into a home with buyers looking at it for sale by owner, and the seller is walking us through the property, they usually point out all the negatives of the house. You know, they'll tell you things that they've done and things that broke that they fixed, and it doesn't necessarily help sell their home by them doing that. That's just me. So for sale by owners, for FSBOs, dealing with buyers is probably one of the biggest regrets that I hear when I talk to people who've done that. Chances are, if you're working with a buyer as a for sale by owner, and they say, "Will you rent to own or will you extend financing?" Run for your life. That means that they're not qualified to buy your home. That's one of the things that our real estate agent will do, is will filter out the unqualified buyer. So an unqualified buyer is not a buyer. Unless you want to do, extend financing or rent to own, but yeah, not usually good. Also, do you know how serious they are, or how qualified? Are they even qualified or pre-qualified? So those are things that a for sale by owner seller doesn't really usually know. And the other thing is, what do I do if they say, yeah, they want to buy? A lot of times that's okay. Maybe an attorney. Yeah. I mean, those are a lot of times the questions, not understanding the process of how things transact. What are the legal required disclosures? How do you put the contract together? Working through all the details is another really big thing. Putting a contract together and all the required state and federal disclosures. There are quite a few, and your attorney may help you through those, and you should get charged extra for them to do that, because they are doing work that has to be paid for. Also, negotiations. There's so much negotiation through the process of selling a home most of the time. Negotiating the price. First of all, like I said, did you price it right, or did you price it low? Usually it's priced low. So you have to factor in things like negotiating the price. Okay, well, if they ask for this, what do we do there? I mean, again, you may have sold a house before or bought a house before, but that's not the same as somebody who does it maybe 30, 40, or 50 times each year. So negotiating the price of the home, negotiating the home inspection. There are different things that come up as a result of a licensed home inspector going through your house, and there are different ways you can handle that. A lot of it depends on your contract, but it's still a point of negotiation. What is reasonable to do? What is not reasonable to do? What should they ask to be fixed? What should I fix as a homeowner? What if I don't fix it? All of that stuff are things that are important. Even things that come up between the home inspection and the closing. It could be walkthrough issues, or it could be anything. Maybe the appraisal came back with some required repairs. How do you negotiate through that? Is there any room for negotiation? So working through those details are something that has to be factored in. Hi, Rachel. So again, dealing with the buyers, working through the details. So here's another question that usually they may not know how to respond to is, what if an agent has a buyer client and they want to look at your house? How do you respond to that? Is it worth paying a commission for the agent to represent a buyer to handle and work through all these things? Remember that in that case, that agent is representing the buyer, not you as the seller of the property. Now, as licensed professionals, we still have to work fairly and honestly and exercise reasonable skill and care in our duties towards you. However, when we negotiate with a buyer, we're representing them in their interests. So again, a lot of times a for sale by owner seller doesn't want to pay the commission for a buyer agent. It's like, okay, there are other ways around that, but again, it depends on where you're pricing. Maybe that agent knows that you're underpriced. Or maybe he knows you're way overpriced. It can go kind of both ways. So think about that. Because the other thing is, and not to talk you out of working with an agent who has a buyer, but they're a professional and they do this every day. And you really want to think about, is that how you want to move forward? Sometimes it'll work, maybe it won't. It's really a lot of times up to you and the agent. But think about that. Remember, the average home in 2019 for sale by owner, the average price was $200,000. with an agent represented transaction, it was $280,000. Again, that's nationwide averages and things like that, but that's part of the National Association of Realtors 2019 profile of buyers and sellers. So my recommendation is your home is one of the probably the biggest purchases you've ever made. And when you transact with it, you owe it to yourself and your finances and whatnot to have a professional work with you. That's my recommendation. I've been doing this a lot. I've worked with for sale by owners. I've represented both sides of a transaction, about every way you can do it. But really, you owe it to yourself to work with somebody to take the hassle out of all the working with the buyers and screening out the people who aren't qualified, that aren't even buyers. Someone who knows what the laws are and what the required disclosures are, but also putting a layer of separation between you and the sellers or the buyers of the property. Because, you could also say something inadvertently that gives away your, well, I can only go down to a certain level or things like that. You don't want to give away your negotiation power either by not having somebody, intermediate for you. So anyway, those are just some ideas that I had of regrets of a FSBO seller based on my experience. So anyway, if I can answer any questions, feel free to comment or reach out to me whichever platform you saw this, and I'll look forward to talking to you again soon. Take care now. And now I finish.